Mike Gill and Crash.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Crash, we're back at it again, and this is an important one coming off of a very important podcast I just had recently with D Booma San. At a point where, for a couple of weeks there, and I can't even be honest how many days it was that I was very sick.
At least a
And
week.
yeah, I mean, I lost days. It was that sick. But in the middle of that, I remember thinking how important it is for me to do that podcast with D and this podcast you're going to hear now. Because whatever happens with me, again, you can't say you don't know. You're going to hear the truth that nobody's telling you. They've fed you, excuse me, with the tooth, I'm trying to keep it in. They fed you white hats and black hats, the good guys and the bad guys, right? Along with the reptilians and the shapeshifters that you people bought. You're the white hats. You're the good guys. You're the victims and they are the predators. Understand this. What I'm going to explain to you, I'm not picking sides. They're all corrupt. From the DOJ, from Donald Trump. It's not that I like Biden. It was all corrupt. The institution of the Department of Justice that runs the FBI is corrupt. And how many years have I told you that exactly? Only to find out that President Trump was in the Pandora's box. And I believe it was the Department of Justice that gave me the last piece. Because trust me, I didn't want to believe it. Never wanted to believe it. But there are facts and evidence, and I'll show you some here. But again, I want you to go to that other D's podcast, and we'll show you the cover. And maybe we can link it at the end of this. You've got to watch this and to understand this also. Again, the side I picked is your side, period. The country's going broke. They're not telling you the obvious and how this operation is working. So this is going to be a podcast where you see the elements working. Each come with an explanation and a reasoning why, including the timing. And remember how many times I say contagion, timing. I'm going to show you all of that. And I am contagious to all of them. So we're going to step through these so you see them. But again, I'm picking your side. There is no good side. What did I say before? There's nothing more dangerous than telling the truth. Okay. All right, hit that. So there's the podcast I did with D, and we'll link it. You're going to see things in there that we're going to talk about here. So I don't want to re-talk about it, but it explains it, including how the DOJ gave a green light for me to be murdered. I know when, and now I know how. When I gave you Mafia Live and Well, the Mafia, well, they are involved. And organized crime is throughout this country. And what did they build? Las Vegas and casinos and Penn National. And when they went to these racetracks and put casinos in them and slot machines in them, it opened up money laundering network that nobody has ever seen before, not to this size. And that's what I stopped. And what did I find out? And I believe it was through an entity through the DOJ that Trump was partners with Penn National in 2015 and 2009 when I was calling it out. So you're going to see all this. Again, there's no good guys. I'm not playing politics. If you're in the media and you're on the left and you're on the right, you're Republican or Democrat, you're not getting the truth. You're getting everything slanted. That's the news. That's all media, particularly the social media. These podcast networks are all slanted from one side to another. And by you listening to both, as in Fox, as in CNN, are you not confused? Well, I'm going to try to unconfuse you. If I'm one thing, it's direct. I don't even have the patience for bullshit. But you better not try to bullshit me either. because I didn't become a wealthy man. I didn't build this business without my particular talent was seeing through bullshit, which brought me here to you.
I was
Okay.
gonna say, I'll attest to the fact that you don't put up with bullshit.
I don't. It's not in me. When I'm talking to Juan on the phone, 107, that tried to came in to flip me, I'd lose my shit.
Yeah.
And he said, well, he would yell at me. Yell at you. I'm going, listen, play that bullshit on the sheep. You're not dealing with a sheep. Okay. All right, hit it, Crash. So understand, you have no friends. It's up to us. And when they use the word blackmail, by the way, you're the blackmail. Okay? Now, this is what was sent to me by what I believe to be the Department of Justice. You know why the Department of Justice would send me such a thing? Because we're in a war. The Department of Justice is in a war with Trump. Here you go. You ready? Trump is in the Epstein files and the Pandora's box. Okay? Now, listen, you just might ask the next question. Why didn't the Department of Justice and the FBI open it? Now you know that they have the Pandora's box because I'm going to show you that they do. And the last podcast showed you that they do too, in writing by the United States federal prosecutor, Llewellyn, right? They all know. So you just might ask this question, and this is what got the DOJ scared. Why'd you let him get away with it? Why didn't you open the Epstein files? Why didn't you open the Pandora's box and still trying to kill Mike Gill instead of opening it? And when turn around and say, why is he still alive? Well, I told you in the last podcast, the recording of the inspector general, the interception of my mail for 3 years, protecting the IRS from Titka, giving it to United States Attorney Llewellyn, who's so afraid of that evidence. He gives it to AG Sessions in Barr. Nobody doesn't know who I am, but you. Okay, so let me go. Investigators. Now, remember now, this is from 2015. Trump was under indictment from Mueller. So was Kushner. So was General Flynn, that piece of shit. And if you watch the last podcast, you'll see how that's connected to Turkey, then to me. They knew who I was in 15 because the DOJ knew who I was.
But you, Mike, didn't actually realize you
They,
did. Go ahead.
I didn't know in 15 that Trump's involvement
Right.
with Penn National. That's why this is new. This was a piece that I had recently got, I'd say within 3 weeks, maybe
Yeah.
4 weeks ago, that I turned around and says, it was the key piece that I was missing.
Right.
It explains the leverage position and the fact that Trump was in it. Trump was in it when I was calling out Penn National, the years I was calling out Penn National. When you see this and you go back to the last podcast, in deposition when Penn National was trying to pay me $25 million, with Liberty another $25 million, as much as anything was to pay off the connection to Trump, which is when I said no, the DOJ green lighted them to murder me. Okay. So in other words, implicate companies in attempt to defraud donations to support Republican candidate. SCG shares address the law firm linked to another offshore company owned by Cordish gambling family. Cordish was one of the wire services of Penn National. And again, money laundering, wires, Penn National. And then that went to Wynn Casino. Turns out it went to the Trump Taj Mahal, too. Technology indicates that the White House reports directly to Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner, again, in Israel. The Strategic Company Group is also linked to Penn National Gaming, which was a partner in Donald Trump's Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Are you getting it? The same Penn National I outed. The same one that they tried to pay me off from. Trump's casino broke anti-money laundering rules 106 times in its first year of business. That's not good, folks. Money laundering. They got him a $10 million fine. If Manafort, remember Manafort, that was his campaign manager, is indicted by special counsel Mueller, which he was, it could be the same time as others involved in criminal activity, including General Flynn and Kushner. Elizabeth Vega spent 21 years as a federal prosecutor. That's the U.S. attorney, including 4 years as part of organized crime strike force. Organized crime. That's what this is. Not that they're good. It's a leverage piece, but it's a negotiated leverage piece, which is why no one tells you shit. She believes Mueller will indict Trump, Flynn, Manafort simultaneously to remove the possibilities of a pardon. Here are the practical and logical matter. Trump had no way to pardon Flynn and Manafort and Kushner's and others until they are indicted. It is almost likely that Mueller will indict Trump, Flynn, and Manafort simultaneously. Now, what happened was they all got indicted, but Trump became president. Flynn got indicted, Manafort got indicted, and they all pleaded guilty, by the way. And it's all in that podcast, last podcast. But understand the move. The move is a leverage move. Who's Jack Smith? The U.S. attorney, like Vega, leveraging Trump with what? The Epstein files and the Pandora's box. Trump becomes president again, thinking and what does he say? I'm going to open the Epstein files. And then he becomes president and he goes, what? You're still talking about that? Well, you're going to hear him do it again. I mean, he only got elected on what? Draining the swamp? You find it coincidental no one talks about draining the swamp anymore? They don't even like using the fucking term.
Right.
Because the only one that got drained was Maxwell. And I don't want to spoil the rest of this for you. So let's just follow along. No good guys. Trump in Pandora's box, which explains to all of you why Trump would leverage with Pandora's box, but never open it. Remember, you don't want me opening that. When it comes to self-preservation, if they're going to blow your ass up, you know what you're saying and what you're seeing now? I'm taking you with me. That's what you're seeing now with the Department of Justice and Trump. Both guilty parties, one looking for a way out. All what we're seeing is leverage and blackmail, as lawyers do. Okay, hit it, Crash.
And
So
I just want to add at the end of this, I'm going to go over in detail some things about what Mike just showed you of that screenshot for people that may have missed Dee's show with him or want to just, it blows my mind, the connections. And I'm just going to go over that at the end.
Okay. And listen, me and Crash hasn't even talked about that yet. And you know what? I'm 100% confident because I know she knows what she's talking about because we talk. All right, now this is Penn National, the one they moved to Maine. If you remember, I did the podcast with Dee on this, and I told you that they were changing management from the Sinaloa cartel to the Chinese. Ready? 2 weeks later, guess what happened? Arrests across the country, Arizona, which they sent me to get smoked, Texas, Florida, and Franklin, New Hampshire. It was the Sinaloa cartel. The Department of Justice is burning the paths and the roads into them, which is why I'm coming up next. Because the magic word then I said is anagos. Because the largest cartels in this country are American cartels. They clean your money. They protect the network distribution, which is how these guys own hospitals and treatment centers and casinos. It only done with protection, which is the problem the DOJ has. Now, I see the path the DOJ is going to take. And this is what this is involvement. They're going to have to give you Flynn as being rogue. They're going to have to give you Anagos because we drove Anagos and the Sinaloa cartel right to the doors of the DOJ. Okay? All right, hit it, Crash. Let's keep telling that story. But I need you to understand. Again, Donald Trump's casino was deficient in anti-money laundering protections. If you're going to launder money, you can't catch yourself. You got to play stupid, which seems to be pretty fucking easy. Right, hit it.
Oh my. Oops, I'm hitting the wrong button here. Hang on.
So
I got a sore thumb, guys. I cut my thumb really bad.
So understand this, as much as they steal from you, the 37 trillion, and Trump's losing more trillions and giving the rich and these oligarchs tax breaks. Now, this is Andrew Lullin, the United States Attorney. He heads the Department of Justice for all of New England, except for Connecticut, which was only John Durham. And what was John Durham? And I was working with Durham. You're going to remember now. Ready? This is important because it's a mathematically impossibility that I'm connected to all these people. Lullin was taking my evidence, and we're going to show that in a second. But Lullin was taking my evidence. So again, a connection, right? He took the Pandora's box by hand. It was he who gave it to Sessions and Barr and the Washington Bureau of the FBI, meaning they own it. Okay? That's the Department of Justice. There is no good guys. All right, hit it. Him taking the evidence. So the DOJ knows about it. That's the documentation of that evidence. That's your drug cartels. That's your corruption in the courtrooms. That's your money laundering. That's Penn National. You know who appointed Lullin? Trump. Who did he give that to? Sessions and Barr, who is the AG under Trump. And you see that in writing, he says that and puts it in there. Everything we're looking for is there. Why didn't they open it? Because they got everybody. Why all this interception of my evidence? Because they use it as blackmail. And everything you're seeing here now is leverage and blackmail. Okay, so you now know the Department of Justice owns this evidence. You read the description of the evidence, not that I wrote, that Lullin wrote. Okay, and the same time, giving evidence to Durham. And guess what happens when I gave Durham the evidence? Who was investigating mob ties with the FBI? You're damn right. They covered up what? The Russian hoax? What if I told you the Russian hoax, I believe, was a deal, was a plan? Trump could turn around and say, hey, I'm not going to put anybody in jail. They'll tie him up with the Russian hoax. Who initiated the Russian hoax? Roger fucking Stone and Manafort. Well, why would that be Trump's people then? And then the DOJ then turns around Trump's deal with them and says, hey, listen, we'll dance around with this shit with the people I was talking to. That was Durham. And they turn around, no one goes to jail. And if you can tell me that someone went to jail, tell me. I can tell you Epstein got murdered, which we're getting a clearer picture why. And Maxwell's the one that went to jail that looks like she's going to take a walk. Okay, hit it, Crash. Now, you've got the Department of Justice in Lullin. Who was working on the other side? Meaning Bill Shaheen, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. He is the builder of this laundering network that is global, that is the center of the money laundering hub of this world. That's why Pandora Papers dropped $935 billion into the little state of New Hampshire after I drew the X and say, this is where you go. This is it. And that's where all the casinos went, including Penn National. You see, so Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, who do you think's in the Pandora's box if it's not the Clintons, if it's not Obama? Do you know who Maxwell bought the property from? A cabinet member of Obama in an LLC I already taught years before she moved in. All right, hit it, Crash. Now follow along. This is step-by-step evidence and proof. DOJ owns it. That's the evidence, okay? Now, who did the DOJ send? Who do they work with? The DOJ, now understand this, you ready? They work with intelligence. That's your CIA. That's General Flynn and the DIA and the CIA. That's Aaron Day, who's tied to as the president of the Libertarian Party? James O'Keefe, the Mossad. Who's he tied with too? Spillman. Who's tied with Spillman too? Alex fucking Jones. Who was the last person that Kurt talked to? Spillman. And what's Aaron? What are they doing?
You mean Shillman?
Yeah, Spillman. It's like two too.
Shillman.
But yeah,
I forget his first name now. Bob. Robert.
Bob, Dr. Bob, right? As we learn. So in other words, who'd they send? Aaron Day and O'Keefe. Who gave up my location? Who covered up my evidence? Who stole all those and outed my witnesses? James O'Keefe and Aaron Day. That was it. Mossad. Who sent them? The DOJ. Again, no good guys. All right? So think about this. The DOJ sent General Flynn too, but let's stay on this for a second. If you see this, when I said that this Shillman was turning around and funding James O'Keefe, you didn't pay attention. You notice how Lori Loomer was getting paid by him too? You're going to find out more. Where's Alex Jones? He's getting paid on this too. How is it the Mossad, known Mossad, they're all taking money from Israel? You see, it's all connected, and it's who they sent to murder me. And you see that in the last podcast. Absolute proof. Okay, hit it. And even now, Charlie Kirk, they connected to that. Now, this is a statue at the Israel Institute of Technology in Israel of Bob Shillman. Who do you think he is? And you also have Mercer. What is Israel doing? And think about this. You know what? What did O'Keefe do? Blackmail and extortion. When I went to Patrick Howley, they sent it through Flynn and Stone. What did he call out? He said, what are you going to videotape stuff and not giving it to the people and blackmail just like O'Keefe? They all knew each other. Again, it's impossible for all these people to run into me. O'Keefe came to my house. Unday came to my house and the office before this. I didn't even know who those assholes were. I do now. Okay, so in other words, that's who they are. And that's who they sent. But the DOJ sent them because think about this. It's the DOJ that uses the blackmail. And these intelligence agencies, such as Flynn, such as O'Keefe, were taking that evidence and blackmailing what? Politicians? Which is why you can't audit the Senate or the Congress. Isn't it that simple? Hey, Musk, in your team of big balls, audit 100 senators. And you know what Musk said later on? If I even said the word corruption tied to the Senate or the Congress, I would be assassinated. Really?
Yeah.
So, all right, hit it.
Now, are you going to be able to read these? Or are you reading these?
Let me see.
Because your iPad,
I know.
If I make it bigger, it goes off the screen.
You know what? I can read them here off the iPad. For some reason, the pictures are coming through. All right, ready?
Okay.
Now this is Laura Loomer. I'm going to try to go fast through it. And she's being accused of taking money from the Mossad, in particularly Shillman. I should just think of Shill.
Yeah.
Are you trying to imply that I'm some type of Mossad spy and that Bob Shillman paid me to attack Charlie? Now, see, Charlie, I think, now this I don't have, but people have posted this and text messages that Charlie Kirk separated from Mossad in the funding of Shillman here. All right, so there's such that this is Candace Owens suggesting this. Now, listen, I trust me, Crash, and you. That's it. Are you saying I played a role in killing Charlie? There's the connection. Do you think I pulled the trigger or have to pay, or will I have to pay for your show to see your next episode? You will fail to mention that I had a meeting with Turning Point USA right after Charlie and I argued online. Charlie flew me out to Arizona 2 weeks before his death. I had a meeting with Turning Point, and he told me that he wanted us to find common ground, and that Turning Point and I discussed the risk of woke right and Islam. I stayed at the resort next to Turning Point and was giving a tour of Turning Point, and really a nice 6-hour meeting with Turning Point. Charlie said he wanted me to help in several projects in 26. We resolved our issues before his death. Now, who knows that? Was anybody with them? You see, you got to remember now, people, these bastards are trained spies, like Michelle Moore, like Stacy Burke, how they twist and turn. I mean, these bastards are trained. And I'm going to show you part of the training in a second. You better hope I don't die soon. Someone's going to translate this shit for you. You know what I keep thinking? They're all sheep. I stayed at the resort next to him. I said, we resolved our issues at a death. So we're buddies now. And then he died. And now you can't ask them if they resolved the issues. You love to pose leading questions to create controversy with zero evidence whatsoever. Now, remember now, hold your hats. Now, I've been posting these graphs of O'Keefe being paid, Lomer being paid. And don't forget, Lomer worked for Project Veritas when they invaded and infiltrated my fucking company. Bob Shillman funded Veritas. Hello? Where I was employed for several years in exposing the radical left. Ready? Let's translate. The radical left is the bad guys, not us. They're the bad guys. The radical fucking left, and you're taking money from Israel. Oh, it goes on. For all issues, you do it every day. It's exhausting. Ever since, even as a Jew, you have more opportunity than I have thanks to Jews who employed you. You were never silenced the way I was silenced. You have employed your black privilege your entire life. You left your long-term boyfriend to marry richer white guy working for it. Listen, I don't trust any of them. But don't forget, she was getting funded. Project Veritas was getting funded by Shillman, who's got a statue in fucking Israel. Remember, we had dinner with his long-term boyfriend, Brian, and so forth. I have photos took together at a news conference. Stop with your bullshit. I think it's dumb people who will buy it. So what she's saying is that, and I'm not reading it all of it, but what she says, and you can Google that conversation. But she was calling him Bob, Dr. Bob. In fact, I deserve more money, she was saying. And the fact that they were friends. Here's the training, boys and girls. Ready? Listen to this. When you catch them and the evidence is clear, embrace it. Meaning, don't deny it. Embrace it. Of course I got money. Generously they gave me money, Shillman. Right? Embrace it because you know there's proof and you know the other ones are proof. So you're trying to deactivate the bomb. But the bomb, it doesn't change the fact that Project Veritas were being paid by Shillman and also Mercer too. All Jewish things. And this is Candace Owens here, right? This is the man that funds Laura Loma. And she puts down Robert Shillman, ultra-Zionist billionaire. Keep in mind, Laura was attacking Charlie before he died. And now demands that we stop investigating Charlie's murder, who directly was doing this. So again, of all the people tied to Kirk, is Shillman. And who's spinning this? Alex Jones, who's being funded by the same guy. Lori Lomer, Project Veritas, James O'Keefe being funded by the same people, the Mossad. Who's Epstein, folks? If it's not the Mossad. Who's Maxwell if it's not the Mossad? Who just dropped bombs on Iran and Trump's asking for the Nobel Peace Prize like someone should slap his ass to shut up? Who gets a Nobel Peace Prize for dropping bombs? And how did he get elected? We're not going to get any wars. What? Biden didn't drop bombs in Iran. He did.
And Jared Kushner did most of the negotiation for that peace deal anyway. Just saying.
Right, the same asshole who was indicted by the
Yeah.
Department of Justice, who
Right.
made $3 billion fucking dollars in an empire, and Trump doesn't take a salary. Hit it. All right, now keep following the bouncing ball. Now remember, I've got Trump in the Pandora's box. These the Pandora Papers hitting New Hampshire. That's $935 billion in the same Penn National, the same laundering network, the casinos across the country. How about sports, fixing sports games? Hey, listen, I caught them fixing races. That's sports. That's gambling. You see how sports betting is blown up? It's the same casinos and laundering network. It's Penn National still. All right, hit it. And again, why is New Hampshire the place to hide money and is the 935 billion? It seems like a good fucking question, except for I answered it in 2013. The only thing I didn't know was Trump's in it, which is why when I'm giving all the evidence in 15 and 16 and telling about Penn National, it might have slipped their fucking minds to tell me they were business partners and money laundering through the same casino network. And if you watch the last podcast with D, you're going to find out that Steve Wynn and Wynn Casinos was involved. And when I posted this evidence, Steve Wynn retired. And what was he buying the land from? The Costa Nostra of New England. All right, hit it. All connected, all money laundering. Now we just turn around and there's O'Keefe. Now let's think about this. Who enters my life? James O'Keefe, Aaron Day, the Mossad. What were they doing? Stealing my evidence, giving up my witnesses, and then setting me up to be murdered. Okay, separate. Now, who gets busted in New Hampshire? I mean, listen, people. Again, I'm connected to every one of these individuals. You see that building, that home that Maxwell was hiding in? You don't buy a multi-million-dollar home and say you were hiding and pay cash. And you buy it from an LLC under the Obama administration. She wasn't hiding, but why go to New Hampshire? Remember, she's going to get out of jail because she's going to blackmail Trump and the DOJ. Which the DOJ's got a problem because if you get Trump, you're going to ask the question, why didn't you pull the trigger on Maxwell before? Because they are the protection network. The Department of Justice was working with Maxwell. And Trump was part of the leverage piece because he was working with Maxwell in money laundering and what else? So in other words, there she is in New Hampshire. You're going to love this. Now hit it again, Crash. Now she's in New Hampshire. She's hiding out. Why? Because it's the money laundering network that leverages each and every one of them. Wait a minute. Who is the United States prosecutor that arrests Maxwell? Lullen. We're back to Lullen again with my evidence. Lullen had my evidence before they arrested Maxwell. He knew why Maxwell was and where she was. Because they were protecting with the Department of Justice because this could backfire into them. And you know who knew this? The master blackmailer. Whatever Epstein was, Maxwell was too. Don't forget, her father was Robert Maxwell, who was a known being in the Mossad and the media, where he hid it. So in other words, we're back to Lullen in my evidence again. Wait a minute. Go through the possibilities, folks. Who represents her when she gets arrested? Bill Shaheen and his fucking law firm. What? We've got Bill Shaheen again? Hillary Clinton's campaign manager? Why Bill Shaheen? Because in case she talks, she wants to make sure it's the Shaheen. What did Shaheen's job was? Oh, he was the U.S. prosecutor. He was what Lullen was before. So again, it's the Department of Justice snatches her up, lawyered up with this Department of Justice. That's where he came from. with Lullen, who took my evidence. And who's in my evidence with Lullen? Bill Shaheen as the architect. You know that $50 million settlement with the IRS? Bill Shaheen's on it too. And when they say, why did the money goes to New Hampshire? Because they own the banking department and the banking commissioner, the Department of Revenue and the IRS. Everything that audits, okay? We're not out of my little fucking circle. And now we got Maxwell. All right, let's find out about Maxwell. Hit it. I hope you keep following this, folks, because to be wrong, it's an impossibility. I remind you again, there's 335 million people in this country, and they keep landing on my fucking head. Now, what does the Commerce Secretary say? Called Jeffrey Epstein greatest blackmailer ever. Hello? Okay, and so Maxwell is that now. She's alive still. She's going to get her freedom from blackmail and extortion. How do they run Congress? Blackmail and extortion. What was the Mossad? What was James O'Keefe? What's Alex Jones? Collecting that fucking data, not giving it to you. Listen, let me translate blackmail to you in the truest sense, how it affects you. You're the blackmail. They all threat, we're going to tell the people. Trump doesn't going to blow up. I'll open Pandora's box. It's all self-preservation. And here's the thing is, they all try to survive. It's like how the Soviet Union and the United States survived without bombing the shit out of each other, because it's self-preservation. It's the same fucking thing, except for now, you've got a little opening. The Department of Justice is saying, we might have a way out. We're going to say we were working with Gill stuff and we were open to Pandora's box, but we didn't have enough evidence. We turned around with the cartels and so forth. They're going to turn around and tell you with Maxwell. Oh, they were protecting it. They were going to come out with it. They were stopping it. Listen, there's a path to escape. And the thing with Flynn, you know what they're going to say? Flynn went rogue. So there's a path to survival of the Department of Justice. Now, the question is going to be if I'm going to shut up, which is why they sent me that piece, leverage piece, to tip the scales. The question is, I'm going to tell you the truth and that they're both corrupt and there's a negotiation, which just might have burnt my fucking bridge. But so be it. Hit it, Crash. All right, now, what's going on now? We're on Maxwell. He meets with Todd Blanche, who just became the assistant AG, who was just Trump's lawyer previously. He turns around and speaks to Maxwell, and Maxwell sent to a Club Fed. And now Trump just recently turned around and says he'll speak to the DOJ about pardoning Maxwell. What? What's he going to pardon her for? For not talking. She's not fucking guilty? Of course she is. Why would you pardon such a criminal? And you don't pardon somebody unless you give them up, everybody. What are you pardoning them for?
Right.
You're pardoning him because she owns Trump. She knows she's in the Epstein files. Now think about this. Trump turns around and says that just quite casually. I think I'll talk to the DOJ. Oh, you mean Bondi?
Bondi.
Now listen, let's go Bondi, right? I mean Bondi, who was the one who was the AG
In Florida.
and in Florida, and the prosecutor Acosta, who lets him go. How is Bondi not in the conflict saving her own ass when it comes to Epstein? And if you watch these hearings, every time they say something to her with a question, she follows the question and goes, hey, you took money. There you go. It's blackmail and extortion, and they're all guilty. So you're seeing a leverage position negotiation, okay? So in other words, now think about this now. Trump's going to give Maxwell without an explanation. And you know what he did even in that? Hold on to this. But you know what he did there too? Do you remember the Oval Office goes, are you still talking about the Epstein files? You know what he did here? Oh, I haven't really been thinking about this. I really haven't talked to any about this. But I think I might tell the Department of Justice to give her a pardon. Buying that bullshit? Boom. Now, this is Alex Jones. Remember, who's taking money from Shillman? Boom. Trump. Oh, this is the spin jobs. Trump just released the biggest development, what is it, in 20 years on the history of the Epstein case. President Trump has now signaled he is about to give Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon, confirming Alex Jones' prediction. These fucking assholes. Jones has said 10 different things when it happened to Kurt. That Trump would use the Epstein files to blackmail the deep state. Oh, okay, you can take it down. I can't look at that fat face too long. He's going to blackmail. There's the plan. Trump's going to take the evidence, not give it to you. You'll never know, particularly if his ass is in it. But we're going to use it as blackmail, the deep state. Now, who's the deep state? The Department of Justice? The Senate and the Congress? Listen, this is what you do. You tell the American people. Isn't that what I told the text messages of Flynn when they were taking my evidence on December 18th, 2020 from the fucking Oval Office? Again, 335 million people, and they landed me again. He's telling you, giving you a spin job already, why you're not going to hear it. We're going to blackmail these people. Listen, you tell the American people the Senate and the Congress is corrupt, and blackmail is what controls it. You're going to say the president of the United States is in those Epstein files, and you cannot have a president, a Senate, a Congress that can be blackmailed by Israel, which may explain Israel and what's going on. It can't be leveraged with the Ukraine, part of the money laundering network. Here's the facts, folks. So you tell me. You need to know everything. You need to know who's corrupt, who's taking money, what intelligence agencies are running this. That's who's running these podcasters, are the CIA, is the Defense Intelligence. And now this Alex Jones, which is paid by the same Spillman, as the same as O'Keefe, as the same as Shulman, as the same. That's why I keep fixing my tooth. So in other words, it's all one network. They're trying to, and listen, you bought the fucking aliens. You bought the ship shapers. I mean, Jesus. Listen, this is common sense, folks. All right, hit it. But that's the spin job. Now let's move on. Now let's think about this now. I've given you paths. I told you that James O'Keefe's a path. In being in the Pandora's box. That's a path. They're money laundering and finding their money laundering, and then turning around and asking the DOJ, why didn't they ask on it? Why didn't Barr ask on it? Why didn't Durham ask on it? Because they are the protection. And the DOJ is what was blackmailing all these people, including Trump. Now, when I say Flynn, this was in 2015. Flynn was indicted. And this thing with Turkey, if you go back to these podcasts, you're going to understand that I uncovered a drug network that was going in through the Turkish cultural centers. You know who was the agent on it? U.S. Attorney Bill Shaheen and O'Keefe's right-hand man, George Lambert. And where did it go back to? General fucking Flynn. All right, hit it. So let's go to the Flynn. Now remember, we've got the Pandora's box, all the evidence to the Department of Justice. And who did Department of Justice say? James O'Keefe to intercept and have me murdered. Well, guess what? Once I survived that fucking shit, on December 18th, on 2020, from the Oval Office, when the Department of Justice was enacting the insurrection plot, the DOJ turns around and tells Flynn, and Flynn already knew it from his association with O'Keefe, even as early as 15, which is why they sent those criminals. They sent another criminal, General fucking Flynn. And why? Because if they were going to put this insurrection, the DOJ knew that one person could fuck this all up by turning on and exposing all the politicians on the take. General Flynn sends me this message you see on top. There's the date. See, and he reaches out to me. Why? They had to intercept me because I was the one thing that could fuck up this insurrection or hit it. And what did Flynn ask for? First thing he asked for, He asked for that $50 million settlement, right? With the names of the perpetrators, including Bill Shaheen, which connects to the Department of Justice. You see, they want to see the signed settlement and then sign an affidavit. You know who was also involved in that? Sidney Powell. You know who was also in that room in the Oval Office at that point? Sidney Powell, who had tried to have Trump sign a lawsuit that would have backfired. Who was also there? Patrick Burns. Have you not seen their involvement moving forwards in your podcasts and the insurrection plot? Okay, so now think about it. 355 million Americans, or 35 million. Again, me, O'Keefe, and now Flynn. All right, hit it. So in other words, here's the insurrection now. There's Flynn in the information sending to Flynn that indicates Penn National Racetrack as part of the money laundering network and the laundering of it. Flynn knew about Penn National. Trump was partners with them. They wanted my evidence too. Again, blackmail and extortion. But again, they had to stop me because it involved all of them. All right, hit it. So Flynn owned that. And that's the money laundering network. And that's why Flynn and all those podcasters tried to turn me. All of them. Now here's a miracle, Sean. They intercept me December 18th. Insurrection with Flynn. And what they're going to do is the DOJ is survivable. They're going to say Flynn was rogue. And he's a piece of shit either way. But he went rogue. That could be the disconnection. Now, you know what I did? By flying my ass to Florida, Michelle Moore coming up with 5,000, not
No,
her money.
Arizona, not Florida, Arizona.
Arizona, thank you. Flying me to Arizona to get me smoked and blame the Sinaloa cartel, which they already knew was going down, which is why that piece of shit Ariel was naming names. How did he know, was I was saying then? I was supposed to get smoked. They're going to say it was the cartel that killed me in Arizona, which then got immediately busted. Now, what did I do? I knew Sununu and Haley was still in the game. I knew Sununu because I ran for governor against them while they were trying to smoke me. So I knew there was a plan. So when I went there, I went and said, let's pull this brokered convention. Is that the plan? Turns out it was the fucking plan. Here's Trump after the meeting I had saying that they were going to have a plot for a brokered convention. Do you know why he knew then, right after the meeting? Because Flynn got caught. And Flynn's the one who told Trump. Flynn was the one running it. And that brokered convention tape, now let's think about this. We got Liz Harris on it. We got Shelby Bush with confessions. Yes, there was a brokered convention. And guess what? 97% of you are podcasters are CIA working for fucking Flynn.
98%.
And 98%. Right. Hey, listen, I think it's a fucking 100. I think there's us, and that's about. Now, they confessed, folks. They confessed about the insurrection plot. They confessed about Patrick Burns, Lindell, all of it. It was a confession. Now, why that confession? They weren't sure who sent me. How did I know? All they knew, it wasn't me. They made me do it. Patrick Burns gave me $700,000. That's Shelby Bush. They all admitted to the insurrection and working with Flynn. They pointed out that Stacy Burke had certain evidence. Listen, she's trying to blackmail Flynn. They're all trying to get fucking paid, which is why she held that tape, or I called her and told her and talked to her about what happened in that meeting. She sat on it for a year. Now they're trying to close the deal. Now she released it. Everything I've always said has been dead on. Now, who did Liz Harris bring? This Jeff Greenspan, who will be joining us as he has experience with brokered fucking conventions and the bullshit they will be pulled. They knew it already. If any objects, they will bow out. Okay, no one objected. Jeff Greenspan is a fucking witness. You understand? He's there, says his Harris typing it for the brokered convention. They knew it was in place. They didn't know how I figured it out, which is why Michelle Moore sent a couple of CIA agents after the meeting which is why that Matthew Chuckaroni running for mayor of fucking Whoville threatened to murder me and came to the hotel room. I mean, we got some serious shit. And then, you know what? Sununu's going, how'd they fucking find out? Not Gill again. Haley Durham. And then all of a sudden they're gone. And guess what? You can't find Haley with a search warrant. Sununu didn't run for office. And Senator Shaheen just resigned. Hello? I hit it. Now, just as another a witness, this pinhead, I believe that's their prom pictures. Okay. He's a witness and a bodyguard. And what did I tell you? I had a conflict right away with this motorcycle asshole for the first maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes or so.
Hit it. This is what he posted. Mike Gill is a fraud, liar, and a con man. I sat in the room with him and others. Oh, I don't know. Let's translate bullshit again, folks. Who were others? Oh, Harris and Bush and Tuckeroni and Greenspan and others. Within the first 3 minutes of the meeting, he accused me of being a Flynn operative. The fuck you weren't, shithead. I never met this mook. Listen, that's your prom picture and I'm a mook. Before the meeting. That's right, I never met this asshole. He was there as a spy and a mole. And listen, you see all these little keyboard brave people? I'm the guy that goes in your face, just like that asshole face. And believe me, that was a tough face to look into. But he was exactly what I was saying with. But here you go, shithead. And I know you're watching. You're a fucking witness too. Ah, then we got Liz Harris, who suckered me there to be murdered. Here she is with, oh, I don't know, Patrick fucking Byrne, Mike Lindell, Sidney Powell. You don't know whose side this bitch is on? And Stacy Burks only took 700,000 from Patrick Burns.
Shelby did.
Shelby, right. Thank you. You keep watching me. And the thing here is, right, on that same tape, I go to her, I go, you took 700,000 from him? Yeah, he's a good man. He was working with the FBI to set up Hillary Clinton. Now, this is all on the tape. And believe me, you'll hear the tape because the Department of Justice is going to spin on Flynn. They may just have to give that up. And if you don't think they all have one, why do you think Tuckeroni's running for mayor or Hoseville or whoever the fuck he's running for? I've got a couple of campaign pictures that I'd like to send in to you. But so in other words, she believed that the FBI was working with Clinton, with Patrick Burns. You buy that bullshit? And you heard me on the tape going, you know that's full of shit. Now, this again, and you've probably seen it before, but this is Liz Harris and Matthew Chuckaroni, who was covering his own ass by saying it, it's good for you've got to release this tape and so forth. She says never. She didn't say she doesn't have the fucking tape. She taped them that the recorder was in her fucking underwear. No shit. She has it all. They know. That's the game leverage. These people all extortion, which is why they're always recording each other, including Stacy Burke. So listen, the meeting happened. They did not only confess to the brokered convention, but the connection with the CIA, and she even threw in Vandersteel, Shelby Bush. Insurrection plot. Now think about it. The beginning of the plot was on December 18th. That was the implementation. They reach out to me. I'm in that room with those people. They knew exactly who I was and what I had. They just didn't know who sent me. All right? That's why the confession. That's why you got to hear it. But that's front and back Flynn. Flynn's guilty, and the DOJ knows this too, which is why you're starting seeing a separation. Because the DOJ is going to go, we didn't send him. Did you know what Sidney Powell was before? Oh, she was a U.S. prosecutor working for the Department of Justice and Appeals, and she wrote it up so you'd lose the appeal. I mean, Jesus.
And that's where you first heard Stacy Burke's name. You didn't know Stacy Burke anything related. And so when you did that recording with her, you kind of were like trying to warn her, hey, they were talking about you.
100%, and that you've got evidence that they were talking about, and they were bringing her in. But they also suggested that she knew something. What did we find out from Stacy Burke thereafter? I worked directly with General Flynn, Sidney Powell, Carissa Ketchel. All the people were
Oh,
in contact with me. She was part of that group. She's blackmailing them with her knowledge, and she's trying to have you believe that she was held hostage for 3 months. She couldn't tell anybody. Really? Anybody get charged with kidnapping? All right, hit it. But again, we got Flynn. But the DOJ calling him rogue is how they separate. Now, Stacy Burke leveraging Flynn to get paid. Now, Jim, what is that? Sorensen?
Jim Stewartson.
Stewartson. My defamation trial with General Flynn is scheduled to start on Friday. He is preparing himself by doing a special talk with Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe. What the fuck? They're preparing the court with James O'Keefe? Oh, you mean the fucking Mossad? Now, what's he suing for? By turning around and saying Flynn ran Q, that it was a CIA, DIA fucking operation. What's Stacy Burke suing him? Flynn for the insurrection. What's him suing for? The CIA and DIA running Q. You thought they left something out? So now we understand that they postponed it. They're in negotiation, folks.
Right.
This shit with Rogue, they're looking to get paid. I'm looking to get fucking murdered. There's a difference. See, but that's what's going on. It's the knowledge of that. And it goes back to Flynn. Flynn is a problem for the Department of Justice. But if he goes rogue, he's a problem for Trump because DOJ is going to say he was working with Trump. And you know what? He is now because that's the ship that's sailing. That's why you're going to see these pieces come into place. That's why Trump's actually going to blackmail. DOJ is going to say, we're going to open the Epstein file. Trump's going to say, you're going to have to explain why didn't you tell anybody? That's why the answer to this question always is tell the American people everything. You pay the bills, you're going broke. They're going to put you on a digital fucking currency, and they're going to track you with AI. Listen, we're going to a bad place, folks. I think I said a podcast once before we call Last Call. Well, this is it. And again, you can't say you didn't know. And I'm not giving you dragons and fucking smoke weasels. This is the truth. All right, hit it.
What the hell is a smoke weasel?
We got one here now. Trump warns of harsh measures and Colorado clerk convicted of election fraud. Wait a minute. Why does Trump want to let go Peters so badly? Because Peters worked for Flynn in the insurrection. She's not innocent. She did exactly what they told Flynn told her to do. Patrick Burns, Lindell, who was connected to Peters, that. You know how I met Tina Peters? Again, I'm connected again. It turns out all these criminal bastards use me as leverage. I'll tell Mike Gill. Right. Tina Peters is no different. I spoke to her many times. I did her show. I met her on the one Friday calls with all the little fucking criminals get together. Peters was afraid they were going to throw under the bus. And I told her they were. And guess what? They did. You don't see those assholes in jail, do you?
Right.
But Peters has what Maxwell has. Maxwell has the Epstein files. Peters has General Flynn. Flynn told me to do it. Right. And if the DOJ wants to flip her, and then Flynn went rogue, she's in play, which is why she's not released, because she is in play. And a lot of these things are going to happen simultaneously. And I'm connected to Peters. And look, I did her show. I turned around and told her what was going to happen. When shit hits the fan, she'll tell you that.
You warned her.
Why does Trump want to let her go? Because she leads the Flynn, and Flynn's going to lead to Trump. And the DOJ is going to separate them too and sell you on. They ran the insurrection, not us. Now, they're all guilty. There's no fucking white hats. There's no spinning with Kerry Cassidy bullshit and Alex Jones. I know what we're going to do. We're not going to tell anybody about the blackmail. Trump's going to use it to leverage the deep state. Right. And the deep state knows his ass is in the Epstein files. And all you've got to do is have an Alex Jones, that fathead, believe it, as Alex Jones lost his appeal for losing his company. You know where Alex Jones is now? Asking the Supreme fucking Court. And you know who's going to make a few phone calls? I don't know. Donald fucking Trump. Hit it. Listen, none of this shit is out of order. Now, what are you seeing? Trump goes after Comey, who's the institution of the DOJ. He's going, and listen, they're not good guys. These are the assholes who are sitting on me. So, but this is the negotiation. This is the warfare of Trump saying, if you open up the Epstein files, I'm going to put you in. He's putting them in position. Yet, you know what he does? He puts some fucking Colorado beauty queen as the fucking lawyer. It's a shill, folks. It's moving people in place. They're not serious. Listen, they're serious about the leverage, but it's a message. You think they want to sit down with depositions? And what are they going to do? Depose Trump? You think that can happen? Like Trump suing Murdoch. You think that's going to happen? Really? Hit it. But see, here's the warfare. This is what you're seeing. Oh, who did they go after? The Department of Justice, special agents, Jack Smith, the DOJ. Do you see what Mullen was? This guy was under that. But again, it's the warfare of the DOJ. They're both corrupt. They're each leveraging themselves with the corruption. And what I'm telling you is, and why I got that evidence about Trump and the Taj Mahal connected Penn National, the DOJ is trying to create an escape route. Use me. I can bury Flynn. I can give you their fucking money with Pandora's box, right? I can give you Peters. I can give you the broker convention, which is why I'm still alive. Now, if Flynn could find me at this point, which who do you think sent me to Arizona? Who do you think Michelle Moore worked? CIA, DIA, and fucking Flynn, right? Now, if I did get smoked then, we would have just solved this problem. All right, hit it. But not the DOJs. They need me now. Now, what else are we seeing, right? We're seeing the attack on the Department of Justice, who is filthy and corrupt. But when Bondi's asking questions in the Senate, right? Is she answering a question? What was it? One question was, do you have pictures of half-naked young women sitting on Donald Trump's lap? And then she goes, didn't you take money? and Senator Shaheen, didn't you block Epstein's flight log? Oh, you mean the bitch is married to Bill Shaheen? Yes, you did. Again, they're both guilty. You're seeing them not answer a question. Listen, Comey, by answering a question in the Senate, is why he's being convicted. Bondi's not giving you an answer to anything, and yet she's tied to Epstein. She was the original person that let her go. And Acosta, the U.S. prosecutor, like Jack Smith, became the labor secretary under, I don't know, Donald fucking Trump. You can't say payoff? Listen, when there's 1,000 pieces and they all fit, you're seeing the truth. All of it. I hit it. Now, just a reminder, folks, well, you want to favor Trump. Listen, it's you. It's the truth. When you find out they're all on a take, right? You eliminate them. You want term limits? That's term limits. If they ain't getting paid, they ain't staying. That means any foreign governments, keep your fucking hands off of the Senate and the Congress and the president. Right? Your Department of Justice, we gotta turn it over. And they may even suggest that. But you make sure they do. Now, just as a reminder, who was telling you the Department of Justice was corrupt? I don't know, these many fucking years? Me. So don't turn around and saying I'm picking one side. I'm saying they're filthy and corrupt. And there's Barr. And I incriminated Barr with the evidence that was given by Mullen. Okay, hit it. Just a reminder again, did I not tell you about the FBI, the DOJ and the FBI? There we go. Expert is the head of the deep state. The FBI is an extension of the Department of Justice, right? There it is. Are we not finding out that that's the case? Did they not use blackmail to control our government? Did they not use foreign entities such as O'Keefe and the Mossad, Jones and the Mossad, Flynn and the CIA and the DIA? right? Did they not protect Maxwell and Epstein? What was Epstein, the most famous blackmailer ever? And what did I tell you? The FBI, deep state connected IRS. How do you think they launder the money? Hunter Biden, right? Didn't file his taxes. He didn't go to fucking jail. Who protected his ass? The IRS. Who's on the $50 million settlement? The IRS. Who's on the recording? The Titka agents investigating the IRS, Tom Morley. It was what Lullen took. The recording. Who recorded it? Aaron Day and James O'Keefe. They didn't expect me to turn around and bring it to the Titka. And you know what Titka did? Tom Morley forgot to hang up the phone. Now that could be an act of God. If you want an act of God, there's an act of God. He doesn't hang up the phone, switches lines, and calls Tim Camus, the Inspector General of Titka, of the fucking Treasury. You're in on it too, a 3-year cover-up for the IRS as they're trying to smoke my fucking ass. When I survived it, all of a sudden I got the letters. Remember what Lullen took? Those letters, that recording. That's why did the top guy of all New England take it? Because anybody below him, 200 U.S. attorneys under him, if they gave the evidence that would incriminate him, he didn't want them to see it either. I moved right to the head of the line. Remember knocking on the door, won't let us in, so forth? I went to the top guy by invitation. And what was I supposed to do then? Take the payoff. That was Titka. That was Curtis Morley. And when I said no, that's when they intercept me with Flynn. They just assumed starving and homeless would be a temptation to turn around and say, hey, you want to live like a king again? But I'm here and said no then. That brought us to here and why it was so important that you hear this truth now. Or this door closes forever and you never know the truth. Because I don't see another stupid bastard going 20 years sacrificing what I had to do to be here. Nobody. All right, hit it, Gresh. And remember, when I told you one of the paths, the direct path was over the cartel and the evidence to Lullen. When I did the show with D, now this is 3 shows back now, I told you that Penn National, the change of management and how they moved to Maine, right? And what they were doing. And I told you they were taking out the Sinaloa cartel. Hit it, Crash. And what we find out? Within 2 weeks, they took out the Sinaloa cartel. There it is. And you see all those, what did I tell you? Miami. You know what my evidence was saying? Was the Coast Guard was bringing in the drugs for the cartel. What did I tell you with Houston and Laredo? That I had trucking companies from New Hampshire, assault weapons, bringing it into Laredo, Texas, and bringing back children and drugs. Boom. And where do you see on there? Franklin, fucking New Hampshire? Wait a minute. We got Phoenix, Miami, and Houston, and Franklin, New Hampshire, which I think the population of 8,000. Now, how did you figure that out? It was my evidence for all of them, except for Phoenix. But they only sent me to fucking Phoenix to get smoked. I'd have tagged every base. Hit it. This again, no accidents. I called that out 2 weeks before it happened. Now, lastly, and in fact, Crash found this. Money laundering and the United States government cartel has only showing us for 19 years now. Ready? Venezuelan president, and remember, you hear Patrick Burns. What do you keep saying? Venezuela, Venezuela, Venezuela. Fucking asshole. All right. Venezuela president Nicolas Maduro claims that 85% of the billions generated by global drug trafficking flows through the United States banking system. Well, wait a minute. Now, who's on the 50 million? The banking department? Who audits the banking system? The banking department, the banking commissioner. What did I find? As the poor bastard who was in banking, owned the largest volume brokerage firm. I found them. I found the Protection Network. I found their LLCs. What did Maxwell buy in New Hampshire? An LLC. So here it is, folks, right? We are, the American cartels are the largest cartels. The Department of Justice has been selling protection to all these criminal entities. What O'Keefe did, what Flynn's doing, that the CIA, the Mossad, is creating opportunities of blackmails. And then this blackmail under camera controls the senators and the Congress. They don't put somebody in unless you're already owned. They owned him from the beginning. You don't think they saw me coming before I saw me coming? They saw me as a problem. That other last podcast I did with D, part of what Richard Head's notes, right? Dickhead, who's the assistant AG under Ayotte, who's now the fucking governor. Mike Gill's going to be a problem. They were already talking about taking me out before Mike Gill knew he was a fucking problem. But I knew they were lying. And I wouldn't let them close the door on the banking department. And then I found out it was Bill Shaheen's Ponzi scheme. Then I found out the reason why they couldn't open that door, because they were the laundering network, what I thought was just the deep state. It's fucking global. That's why 935 million from outside your country flows into the state of fucking New Hampshire. So, okay, Crash, I know you've got your feet.
Yeah, I just want to, you can do a closing after, I guess, I show you this, and you don't have any clue what I'm going to say. So
I don't.
I'm going to put up, I'm just going to slide through mine so we can get done. So I have about 10 images here. Let me put them up here and I'll read through them real quick. Okay. We're back to this. Now, this is what you were given. And I'm going to just say that I found that it came from, I think it came from a website similar to Substack, but it's behind a paywall. So I can't actually, unless I pay, I can't actually go and get this article. But I was curious. And when you showed me this, and if you know me, I need to research what you're saying rather than just listen to what you say, because I need to, it helps me understand it and helps me believe.
100%. I need you to understand and know what we're saying is the truth. That's
Right.
why Crash, when I met her, was a pure investigator. She doesn't see the strategy in it, but she sees the lies in it.
Yeah.
So in other words, then we went on and go, this is why they're lying. But go ahead, Crash.
Right. So yeah, interject whenever you want to, because this is, like I said, I don't know if I haven't heard some of this, but I don't research everything. So
okay.
I took the first paragraph on this and I was like, I want to know about Reed Cordish, and I want to know, I never heard the name. I didn't know he was in Trump's cabinet. I want to know who SCG, or a Strategic Campaign Group, is. And I went into, okay. So it first comes up to, I'm going to just tell you key points about the information I wanted to know. So the Strategic Campaign Group, the SCG group, they were a political consulting firm. Okay. And this is stuff you didn't really go over because I don't know if you knew it.
Right.
In 2014, they were already in trouble with a lawsuit over a donation scam with a Republican candidate. So this has been, they're not good people.
And I'm sorry, but part of the indictments against Manafort and so forth was campaign contributions that they were stealing and laundering. And there was contributions to Trump. Go ahead.
Okay. So when it said in the beginning of that screenshot where it says investigators took computers, I was like, what does that mean? So that means there's some kind of investigation. So I found out the FBI raided SCG and investigated them for fundraising practices in 2017. And the president of the company did plead guilty. And guess what? Wire fraud.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we didn't talk about this. Go ahead.
So the SCG group then, like we know, is linked to the Penn National Gaming, and that's through the Cordish family's connection to the Penn National. I can't see because hang on, I got to get rid of this. Okay.
And while you're reading it, what I'm saying is, what have I been telling you what Penn National was doing? Fixing races, wiring the money offshore, and bringing it back clean.
Right.
So the wire fraud is what's being done. It's what Wynn was doing. It was what Penn National was doing. It's offshore. A lot of this money was going to the Ukraine. Go ahead.
And it's what the Cordish family was doing. Okay.
Right.
So SCG then went to hire some of the Trump campaign staffers to leverage their foreign clients. I didn't look into all this, but I'm just giving you.
That's Flynn in Turkey and 15 million. Go ahead.
We'll get there. So this led me, when I looked this up, this led me to a name, Tom Barrack. And I asked you if you knew anything about him, and you said, no, I don't really know. But I then went on to read about this. Now, forgive the spelling because I didn't have time to correct this. But Reed Cordish family. Okay, Reed Cordish is who? What is he to Trump? The international. I don't have it right here. It's in here. But in 2013, the Cordish family was already in trouble. Again, that's the same time frame as what was the other one, 2014. They had set up 4 trusts in the Cook Islands. Now, I don't even know, I never heard of the Cook Islands, and it's a remote island. They moved $116 million in assets to these trusts because they were already in trouble with legal claims. Okay, so that's Reed. And Trump met Reed's father, David, during a legal dispute they had, and then they became very good friends. So Reed Cordish became friends with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. And I believe they might have been neighbors, but I'd have to go back and look on that. I didn't write it in here. And then that's when Reed was appointed, he was the assistant to Trump for the Intergovernmental Technology Initiatives. I don't even know what that is. But
meaning that Trump hired him in his cabinet, and
yeah.
Trump was working with him at Penn National with the wiring service.
And knowing that they had that they had the trust, and he knew that the problems they had.
Right. And the Cook Islands, it was Captain Cook that discovered them, like Polynesian islands, are similar in usage as they do with
Virgin Islands,
the
or
Cayman Islands.
Cayman and the British Islands, yeah. So the Cordish, and I found out that the Cordish company had multiple affiliations with Penn National. So
at the same time, Trump was partners with them. At the same time, I was calling out the laundering system. And then back in 15, when I turned around and refused the Penn National offer of 25 million, again, who I wasn't suing, who's in the last podcast, it was that moment that they decided that I had to be murdered.
right.
And there's evidence and proof and witnesses and tapes. Go ahead.
Because that's what I found. A lot of this, that's okay. A lot of this I found out corresponded with the timeline you were involved in. So that's why I was interested in it. And this is when I was like, okay, Tom Barrack's name came up again. And I'm like, who is this guy? So I had to look in, and he is now Trump's, if you didn't know this, he's Trump's ambassador to Turkey.
And Resorts International, Tom Barrack and Resorts International was the first casino that Trump owned in Atlantic City.
Right.
He bought it from Merv Griffin.
Okay, I got it.
I also know from horse racing. Go ahead.
So that led me to Tom Barrack. And now you do know a little bit about that. So I have misspellings in here again too. So, okay, this is how I got onto Tom now. Tom is, everything from here on Tom is connected to every single person you had in that first screenshot that you got from the DOJ person.
And I didn't know Tom Barrack.
Right.
Crash is bringing up Tom Barrack to me for the first time. And we're seeing it. So I didn't know Tom Barrack, but go ahead. And
he's the ambassador to Turkey currently. Okay, just keep that in mind. Trump has him, and we're not talking Thanksgiving, remember?
and remember who was connected to Turkey and money laundering? General fucking Flynn.
That's what I'm saying.
Who was indicted at the same time. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So here's a little bit about the Resorts International. James Crosby actually owned Resorts International, and he died in 87. And Trump scooped in right away, 87. And he died in 86. Then Trump bought that, and he partnered with Merv Griffin. And he had that until 1996 when Trump took his part and transferred it to his Trump Entertainment Resort. He created that. So he bought that out at that time like you said, went in partners with Merv Griffin. And Resorts International was involved in, this is crazy, but it was involved in offshore money laundering, which was in the Watergate investigations. Did you know that?
Hold on, Crash, right? What was I saying in the last podcast? I was saying that it was the mob and the mob's money. That was Angelo Bruno. It
Bruno.
was It was Jimmy Hoffa. It was the truckers' pension funds that built Vegas and was building Atlantic City. So the mob never left the money laundering aspect. What did they own? Politicians and judges, and the money laundering. That's why it was all involved. This is more connected than you think. Go
Right.
ahead.
That's what blew me away when I was doing all this, and I wanted to tell you, but okay, so the Watergate. Now that happened before Trump, Watergate, obviously, but this is how deep it goes.
Right. Understand this. The mob's been involved in politics forever. It was the mob who leveraged the FBI with Hoover wearing dresses. So
Okay.
blackmail and extortion has been live and well.
Yeah. So in 2001, then that's when Tom Barrett kind of split off and created Resorts International Holdings, which he created that as like a sister company off of his Colony Capital, which I'll go into later.
But
But
again, casino, a
casino,
casino.
right? So Reed, Cordish, they all had a gaming license. Tom Barrack has gaming license. Trump has gaming license. So
Oh,
we're all in the
Jesus.
game. Okay. So anyway, he
And
created,
they all go to Penn National.
right. And then Tom Barrack was involved with Penn National Gaming, who purchased casinos from him. Okay. So the resorts that, I think I might have this out of order, but the resorts in the Watergate, no, this is right. I just wanted to put a quick thing of AI that I found, that the Watergate information. Congressional Watergate investigators reportedly suspected that the casino was used to launder money, and it was funneled into Richard Nixon's campaign. And then Roger Stone, who does he have on his back? Richard Nixon. Be proud of that.
Right.
And then the Jersey Game Division, they requested information from the CIA. And here we go. It's due to its international nature and possible connections with organized crime. So this was all in part of that investigation. And it was all the offshore connection, which was
concerning money laundering.
Right.
And the Resorts International in Paradise Island gave you connections into the Cayman Islands, and those islands, again, for money laundering. You know who's number 4 in owning our bonds, our debt? The fucking Cayman Islands.
Right.
Meaning the drug cartels own your debt.
Right. So a little bit about Tom now currently, and how they met and the connections. In the 70s, Tom worked for the Saudi princes. Imagine that. And he was their legal counsel. I'm going to breeze through it. You can screenshot it. But he was also a legal advisor to the Saudi royal family. So he was in Beirut, and that's what he was doing in Beirut. He was also the founder of Colony Capital, which was a major global investment firm. And what Tom did was he picked out like property in distress, and he bought them out. And
which is another form of money laundering.
Right. Right. So he at that time he invested $200 million in the Middle East real estate, which was UAE, Qatar, and Turkey. Okay, and then he became.
Where did Patrick Burns go to hide? Qatar.
Right.
Who's connected to General Flynn? Turkey.
And who's Jared Kushner with? The UAE. Okay,
right.
So we have business partners and friends with Trump. Then in 1988. They did a deal in 85, and then they had a fight, and then they became friends, something like that. And then Tom Barrack is now, like I said, the ambassador to Turkey and also special envoy for Syria. He was also then in Trump's first term, he was the chairman of the inaugural committee. So
what was Epstein and Maxwell? First and foremost, money launderers. What were they blackmailing with? Their money. You know what can be used here as blackmail? What you're reading. Money.
Right, the money. And in 2007, his Colony Capital was involved with this firm, Wilkie Farr and Gallagher, who were just advising in acquisitions. But Wilkie Farr was involved in Penn National.
Okay. I didn't know this. This is good news. Right.
It's all I looked it up. I'm not just blowing smoke.
No, you're dead on. This makes 100% sense. I'm just saying that I didn't know. Listen, what you're hitting is deeper in being right.
Deeper, exactly. That's what I mean. It connects it 100% more. That article you showed skimmed the surface, and now I skimmed a little bit deeper, but it goes way beyond this. And in 2007, they cited that Penn National was a potential buyer of Trump Entertainment Resorts, which I didn't know that, which at that time he owned the Taj. And that never happened because he was way too far in debt because, he owed more. He wanted more than what he owed, or more. He owed more than what he wanted
But
to
yet
sell.
they were partners. You
But
want see what I'm saying? They
right,
were partners then, and the partners was in money laundering.
right.
Penn National was owned by the Pittsburgh mob. Penn National was, which is why Steve Wynn resigned. And when I put that information out, it was the front page of the Boston Globe.
Okay. So they kind of had a little spat there. Now, I just have a note of commonality here. We bring in Howard Lutnick. Okay. And I know you had an image of him in your show, in your part of your show. Howard, he was also friends with Trump at the same time Tom was, early 90s, late 80s. And he also had a gaming license. I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that?
No.
All right. Well, Howard
But I
Lutnick,
knew and then the next thing is Cantor Gaming,
for gaming.
sports betting. Fucking Cantor Gaming is in all my videos about Penn National and
Exactly.
turning around and saying, I caught Cantor Gaming. And
That's
then they
what,
made it the CG technology, closed it down. What did I say? It was the wire service they were using. What wires did I caught that was going into politicians, state troopers, judges? Cantor Gaming.
exactly. That's why this blew me away because I remember those videos you
Yes,
showed the wires,
right.
and I was like, oh my God, this is Lutnick. You know who Lutnick is?
I knew Cantor Gaming because
He's
I'm the one uncovered it and closed it down. And then
right,
the sneaky bastards called it CG technology. It was still Cantor Gaming.
exactly, yeah. So, and Lutnick is now the Secretary of Commerce. So we have
And
him.
remember, I was the world champion of racing here. I was racing there. What did I see? Fixing races. Why were they fixing races? Listen, if they're going to bet millions, they're going to make sure their ass wins.
Right. Now they all have gaming licenses so far. Now I don't know if Jared does, but see, now we have Jared Kushner in the mix. He became good friends with Tom Barrack.
He's the bag man. That's why 3 billion.
Right.
Trump's got to have someone he trusts as the bag man. It just happens to be his son-in-law that's owned by the fucking Mossad.
Right. So in 2010, they became friends. Now Tom bailed out Kushner and gave him 70 million to avoid bankruptcy in that business, that office tower he had at 666 Fifth Avenue up in New York.
Oh, jeez. You think you change the address, or maybe you don't.
Yeah, you don't. So, and he introduced Kushner to the UAE ambassador. So that's how that came about. Now we have Flynn. Now here's where Flynn. Now I didn't know this either, but I might have heard it, but I don't know if I really looked at it. Tom and Mike Flynn got involved in the Middle East Marshall Plan in 2016. Did you ever hear of that?
No.
Okay. Well, they were going to transfer nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia and UAE from the U.S. Okay, so they did this.
I tell you, Flynn's the bag man. That's why he's in Turkey. That's why in this. So this, I didn't know this, but this makes perfect sense.
It fits right in. Flynn was an advisor to an organization called IP3 International, which they were using to facilitate this plan. But IP3 was founded guess who? U.S. national security and military officials. It was DIA. So Flynn was an advisor to that organization, which was military officials, and he also then was an advisor to a sister company, which was the Iron Bridge Group. And they were using these organizations to facilitate this plan to get the nuclear over to the Saudi Arabia. Now, it was supposed to originally be between U.S. and
meaning somebody's getting paid, folks. Go ahead.
U.S. and Russia was supposed to be a joint acquisition there, and that, I guess, this all never happened because Tom, his role was to be the administrative lead, okay, but there was a conflict of interest, and he was investigated for foreign lobbying, and then we all know what happened there. He got arrested or indicted. So I didn't know any of this about Flynn. IP3, I didn't ever hear that, and it's all a bunch of national security guys and former military. And then we bring in Paul Manafort, which is also connected to Tom. I'm telling you, it blows my mind. Paul Manafort, now, in case people didn't know, he was Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
All
I
right.
can tell you he was Trump's campaign manager in 15 when they
Right.
tried to smoke me and no one mentioned Penn National. Go
Right.
ahead.
So they became friends in jail. And now what Manafort was in jail for was, of course, what you talked about. He was bank fraud and he was convicted of conspiracy against the U.S.
Money laundering,
Money.
bribes,
Right.
payoffs.
Right. So Trump pardoned him. Now, Tom Barrack met Paul in Beirut when, like I said, they worked for the Saudis. That was in the 70s. Now Manafort was representing a law firm there, and that's where they all met. So now in 2007, they were friends. Tom Barrack gave
And
Manafort
listen, they didn't put him in the cell by accident. They were
exactly
already friends.
right.
Well, go ahead.
Tom gave Manafort a $1.5 million loan to refi his home, which is, I'm sure that's a money laundering deal. And they were both. Paul also had, a gaming license, so they were
Was a
lobbyists.
lobbyist for the gaming casinos, including
Including
Donald
Trump.
Trump's.
Yep. So
Manafort,
Manafort, I
money
knew that.
laundering. And what did he get indicted for? Money laundering.
Yeah. Now
Listen,
his
I'm
lobby.
seeing this for the first time too, so you got to excuse me.
All right, that's okay. That's why I didn't want to tell you about it.
No, this is better.
His lobbying firm was called Black, Manafort, Stone and Kelly, and you guessed it. That's Stone is Roger Stone.
Fucking Stone. And remember,
Fucking
the
Stone.
Russian
Exactly.
hoax, who started it? Roger fucking Stone. Who intercepted my witness, Audra 2? Roger Stone. When they sent me to meet Howley, who was his business partner? Roger fucking Stone.
Okay, now get this. We have one more connection, and I guess you could probably guess. Epstein.
Okay.
Tom Barrack was friends with Epstein, and even before Donald Trump or the 2016 election, they were. I guess they had meetings, but no one really knew what the meetings were about, and it was kind of like on the down low, and no one knew what was going on. So they were just acquaintances, and I looked up kind of how they were acquainted, and they were known as Barrack, Trump, and Epstein were reportedly the trio of nightlife musketeers in the 80s and 90s. I didn't know that either.
No,
So
I
they
didn't either.
were, I guess, hanging out in the clubs. They were all in a big club, and we're not in it. So
And don't forget, Epstein was a money launderer. That was Maxwell
exactly.
too. So no, and think about this. In fact, you brought that up, Crash. When I said that Trump was in the Pandora, I'm sorry, was in the Epstein files for Virginia Dupre and so forth
Good
like
for
that.
yeah, Virginia, yeah.
But it was the money laundering too in Pandora's box. So giving me this piece was the connection. They gave me the clue to move forwards and put Trump in the box. And as you're reading this, again, it's Epstein again with money laundering.
Yeah.
Trump's been laundering money from day one, which is why he doesn't want the Epstein files opened.
So they're all connected. All that whole thing I just went through, they're all part of, like they say, one big club. Now,
and you ain't in it.
And exactly. So what do you think of that?
I think it's impossible not to be dead on. And again, it's always about money laundering. And that was right down the race fixing. And how many things come back to the casinos in Penn National? You know what? The mob made you think it went away. What did they say? The greatest trick Satan, the devil, did was make you think he didn't exist.
Right.
So what I'm trying to tell you is, why do you think you need to know the names of every name in the Epstein files? Maxwell doesn't get immunity and she gives you everybody. You open up the Pandora's box to the laundering network that attaches to every one of these politicians and across this country. It is the foreign countries such as Israel that is blackmailing us. Ukraine was a trading partner and a money laundering partner. Why are we in there? And if Trump's going to make a deal now with these foreign governments, for instance, what's going on in Israel and so forth, it's not a deal in your favor. None
Right.
of it is.
And
Even this Charlie Kirk thing could be connected.
right. And I kind of thought they created this coup rabbit hole, all these, the Nasara, the med beds, and all this adrenochrome stuff. They created that to send us down a rabbit hole so people didn't do exactly what I did there and looked into the actual connections of people that are taking our money and running a country. I don't
They
know.
programmed you with fairy tales.
Right.
When I walked
For a
into
reason.
this podcast network and started listening, I knew they were full of shit. But what shocked me and concerned me was that you guys were buying it.
Right.
When
We
they're
are.
telling you about reptilians and all this, I'm going, and think about Michelle Moore. Did she sell the sovereignty? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the Flynn's issue. Did she sell Wave Watch, well, medical devices that, and then now gold? What happens when gold, and who did it? All these podcasters. Why weren't they worried? They were protected by the Department of Justice. Who were they working with? CIA assets. What did Michelle call Elvire? A CIA asset that Ariel knew. Why do you think Ariel won't give you his face or his name? Why do you still don't see 107? I don't even know of his name. What is it, Willard or something?
Wayne Willett.
Right. They're all fucking lying, and you bought the bullshit of bullshit. Alex Jones, the same thing. You forgetting he had Raikkonen on and thinking it's a good idea that Trump was dead? I mean, what's wrong with your memories? What's wrong with you buying bullshit? Listen, you heard no bullshit today. You've heard no bullshit from me ever. These are facts. This is evidence. And the stuff that Crash just shared with me, we didn't share, we didn't know. But am I surprised it lines up 100%? Fuck no. In 20 fucking years, what didn't line up? And you know what? I'll end with this. Whatever I saw and calculated and told you, which is, again, those videos that you see on state of corruption, they can't come down. Wasn't me saving them, was the Department of Justice, just in case they had to use them, just in case they knocked on their door. But when was I wrong? And beyond that, what I was wrong with, it was always worse than I thought. It was never not as bad. It was always worse. So in other words, and me and Crass, and she knows that I do this. When I look at something, I find out why it doesn't fit, why it doesn't work. I'm trying to talk myself out of it. Did you miss something? Is this not? Because I come from that direction trying to diffuse it, to give an excuse why this is. And when you can't find one, my father used to say, my mother's Canadian French, 13 brothers and sisters. My father was an Irishman, and he would always say, 1,000 Frenchmen can't be wrong. And what he meant was, too, is 335 million people, and they keep picking me. And when each time these piece fits, comes up with, even when, as Crash comes up, I fit. There's Penn National again. There's this piece and this piece. And remember, Crash looked at this, and then I saw it. And I'm telling you, it was the DOJ who sent it. And listen, the same assholes who wanted me dead, the same ones that I told you was this corruption, they can't explain why they didn't move. But when Epstein files, the DOJ can't be certain that they won't get opened. And if they get opened, they're going to have some explaining to do. They've already got and they're always ahead of you. That's who I play chess with, Department of Justice. They're smarter than Trump and Flynn, the whole thing, which is why I had to calculate. Now, how did the dirty bastards get out of this? Flynn's rogue, answering to Trump. Uh-oh, that's possible. They arrested the Sinaloa cartel. Mike, this was a big operation. Remember that path? They might have intercepted that. The Arizona, we were moving on that. That was the rogueness of General Flynn. Wait a minute. Then maybe they give Tina Peters a deal and say, it was Flynn. You see, they just might be able to save themselves. But with the understanding, and why I'm here and with the bridge I might burn, is to know that there's not innocent in this. They were running that protection network. They did send Flynn. They did send O'Keefe. That's why these guys and all these podcasters stealing and robbing you, lying about this bullshit, they're all protected. Who's protecting them if it's not the Department of Justice? Why the Department of Justice? Because who puts your ass in jail? Who was Jack Smith? Who was Comey? You see? There is no good guys. There is no white hats and black hats with those assholes we're teaching you. Don't forget the good guys. The white hats are coming for you. Yeah, they're the ones who blew up the Pentagon, but it was just a show. How was Kerry Cassidy selling you that? Wayne Willett is really John F.
JFK
Kennedy
Jr.
Jr. Are you shitting me? You bastards bought that shit. You know why I had to give up my life? You're the reason. You bought the bullshit. And listen, you've got to start standing up. You want a way to win? There is a way to win. Listen, if they weren't blackmailing you, if they couldn't blackmail each other, it's with you knowing the truth. If you knew the truth, by knowing the enemy is how to win the battle. You got to know who you're fighting. Now you understand foreign countries. You understand the entities of corruption. Don't think the pharmaceutical industry isn't in this. Healthcare, insurers, big banks. They're all buying protection. They're all own Senate and Congress. Ready? No more fucking lobbyists. That's it. Keep your filthy money out of the Senate and the Congress. Stop donations to presidents and so forth. All foreign entities, keep your fucking ass out. Israel, you got to just shut them off. You want to start a war, you fight a war. If they take some done a deal with Gaza and so forth, what's the bet? American troops go right in the fucking middle, and you're in the Middle East again. Who put us in the Middle East? Bush. You don't think they're corrupt? The Bush represented Sununu, the military-industrial complex. That was Haley and Sununu. That was the purpose of the brokers' convention. And now Trump wins, just blackmail his ass. And then all of a sudden, Epstein's front and center. You demand the truth. Once you get the truth, then this country can unite. And then one of my ideas and another reason why they tried to smoke me, was state of corruption, a watch group made up of Americans. I was hiring victims and turning around outside of the government. I spent tens of millions and then get whistleblowers, sit in front of them and make it public. That's what these podcasters should have done. Where's the whistleblowers? Do you see them coming around anymore?
No.
The reason why they were taking in the whistleblowers like myself, because they were outing us.
Right.
With me, they were tracking me. They were keeping me broke, keeping me sick, turning around and sending me to my death.
Or they were turning them, flipping them.
Yes, you better, and which is they did. You see, we've got to be outside the government. We've got to police them of the people. So there is a way of doing this. And once you see the truth in the reality, open Pandora's box, open the F5 file. And how many of these oligarchs in there? We just saw Keel that you brought up, right? And now they're taking over Twitter. And then you've got Musk, who Musk said that Trump's in the Epstein files. When did he know that? How did he know that? Is he in them? When he asked if he was in them, you know what he says? I've never visited Epstein Island, but he did visit the mansion in New York. Listen, the money of this world is what's going to imprison you. This is who the ass they kiss. We need protection against these. Owning Twitter, owning TikTok, they're owning the media. Who owns ABC, CBS? What do we got? Disney? Paramount? We need the truth. And listen, if you're in podcast, you're in the media, and you're a Republican or a Democrat, and come from that position, they're all lying to you. The truth is never not somewhere in the middle. The truth isn't persuaded by a party. Can we hear the truth without it being politically generated and sold? All of it. They're on one side or the other because it's the funding. And think about this, an equal balance on each side is a recipe of confusion. Are you confused? Do you not know the good guy from the bad guy? And when they're telling you reptilian bullshit, they were testing your gullibility. That was Flynn. That was Q. That was the podcasters. You're the good guy. You're the victim. Okay, Crash.
All right.
That was a very good ad, a very good surprise too.
Yeah, I thought you would kind of be interested in it.
You know what it is? I've loved those pieces and how they fit. See, that's what I'm saying. What was in there, and then I didn't know, that would have disputed what we were talking about? It could have been just that, saying, hey, listen, this doesn't fit and that doesn't fit.
But it all fit.
It fit like a fucking glove. Now,
Right.
now you guys think about that. All right,
All right.
Crash.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Thanks.